Good evening, Somers, and welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of Thursday, November 8th, 2018. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you would please remain standing for a moment of silence for the victims of Thousand Oaks shooting in California. It's most unfortunate that we have these events happening. We were just doing this for the victims down in the synagogue in Pennsylvania last week. So a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Patty, roll call.
Councilman William G. Faulkner.
Here.
Councilman Richard G. Clinton.
Here.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico.
Here.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.
Here.
Supervisor Rick Morrissey.
Present. Okay, our first order of business tonight is public comment. I'll open public comment. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Is there anyone here for public comment? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Herson. I live in Horton Estates. And the reason I came down this evening was that I want to urge the board to facilitate putting together a ceremony for September 11th in 2019. This past September 11th, which was a Tuesday afternoon, I called the town. I found out, in fact, that there was no ceremony scheduled. I know in the past few years, Chief Driscoll was very active in trying to put something together. And I did speak to him subsequently, and he encouraged my efforts to come down here this evening. I have a personal connection with September 11th. My neighbor was Joe Spohr, my friend. He was in Rescue 3. He died that morning, as we know, leaving behind 4 children. I've also been very active in the scouting program in Somers. Our boys will be marching on Sunday. They march in every parade. And I think it's vital that we, as the grown-ups, set an example for the youngsters, that we remember these things and we think they're important. Attendance for the last few years at the 9/11 memorials has been steady. The people that feel it's important, they show up. And it's, I think, important to them to see that there's some effort made to recognize their feelings. So, I can tell you tonight that I'll make sure there's some scouts there. And I'm sure I'm a member of St. Joseph's Parish, that one of the clergy will come down. And so that's it. That's my application. I'm giving you plenty of notice. It's only November. We're not looking for a big thing. I'm sure the fire department is always able to come down. Chief Driscoll will make sure that the police department is represented, and certainly we can reach out to the other sort of organizations. in
So,
town.
Mike,
great idea.
just before you leave, I do want to let you know that there was a small ceremony run by the Historical Society.
Yeah, I heard there was some
Where-
bouquets put on the benches.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah,
So-
that's something I agree, but still, it's not a public gathering.
Right. No, if we can get, you get your Boy Scouts, I'll get the fire and police there. How's that?
Excellent.
No, that's a great idea.
Thank
We
you.
should not,
Okay.
because kids you work with, and I work in a high school,
Yeah.
they weren't born then.
Yeah, well, I'm
And-
sure, that if we get a crowd, you guys will be there.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
You're there either
way.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Good night.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, is there anyone else here for public comment? Seeing or hearing none, I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to department reports. Patty?
I have reports from the town clerk, building inspector, zoning board of appeals, plumbing, fire bureau of prevention, parks and recreation, planning and engineering, tax receiver, director of finance. I also have to announce that DeChico's is applying for a new liquor license, and they're located at 266 Route 202.
Thank you. Moving along to business of the board, Parks and Recreation. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to accept the proposal from Landscape Concepts to create landscape design for Bailey Park to be paid for by rec fees account per memo dated October 31st from the Parks and Rec Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, moving on to Town Board. It is with great pleasure that I would like to recognize a true patriot and a civil servant in our own Patricia Calba. I have a certificate of appreciation here, but this does not begin to describe what Patty does for the town of Somers. I did not know this until about 6, 7, 8 months ago, but Patty is a star lady. We know she's a star, but she's actually a star lady. And what's that? That's a group, you're nationwide, aren't you?
They are nationwide.
And she cuts stars out of retired American flags and puts a little message to a veteran in a little envelope and hands them out to veterans. So, I think that's a very warming. I have a pocket full of them. Anytime I meet a veteran, I hand one out. So that's, one thing she's involved in. But she's not just there cutting up American flags. Last spring, we had a tornado come through our town.
Oh, yeah.
Snapped our fiberglass pole, 40-foot pole down. American flag and the POW flag comes down, hits the ground. Patty's office is right out front. She ran out in the rain, took the American flag, POW flag, and brought it back into the building. Now, if that's not heroics, I don't know what is. No one else was going to go out in that weather, I'll tell you. So it's with great appreciation, I'd like to present you with this certificate from the town of Somers, given to Patty Calba, RMC, CMC, in recognition of your earning the designation of Certified Municipal Clerk, awarded by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, Inc., and appointment to the head of the Municipal Clerks of Westchester County. So Patty.
Come on, Patty. Come on, Patty.
Only because she hates this, are we doing it?
Hold on to it.
So what, I'm gonna talk to them again? Thank you.
Before we continue, this certification is fantastic, and for those of you who come to the townhouse often, everybody knows how great Patty is. And I've been lucky enough, people have asked me, why don't I ever move my chair here? I've been sitting here next to Patty for about 12 years now. And
She's
Patty-
been asking you actually to move.
Well, yeah, she's been asking, but I don't. Because Patty, as I've said many times, makes me look so incredibly smart. Because she will whisper there, you won't be able to see it in the crowd, but she'll look and she'll say something, and then I'll say it, and I'll look like a genius. I try to give her credit, but she doesn't like that. So, there's nobody better. She's been with the town now for a lot of years, we'll say. And she, sorry, Rick, but she runs the town. And if anybody has any questions, they go to Patty and they ask about it. So
I need all the help I can get.
there you go. But she does a fantastic job. We're so lucky to have her here, and it's so well deserved.
I know. Here,
Tom
here.
is 100% right, and in addition to blushing very easily, one of her more charming qualities, but the ultimate professional. Really, you were a wonderful deputy town clerk, but as town clerk, I just think you've flowered even more. You take on responsibilities that aren't yours. We ask you half the questions. We don't know some. We just go to you. And you seem to know something
What's
about
my answer?
everything.
Call Roland.
Yeah, we're trusting you, I have to
That's my
tell you.
answer.
More and more. I have to
She's
say
pretty
that.
good on the legal questions too,
She
Roland,
is.
so watch
I
it.
answer it.
She keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
I answer it and they then say call Roland because I want to know if I'm right.
But when you are the town clerk, just as Kathy Pasella was before you, and to a certain extent, you're the first office people come to when they come in the front door. And you have to know everything. You have to have good relationships with people, good people skills. You have to be pleasant. You have to be accurate. And you're all those things. And Tom and Rick and Wright and everybody, I'm sure, would agree that you're a pleasure to work with and fun, and you make the job fun. And thank
So,
you.
yeah, so Patty's the chief record keeper of the town. And she has a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge. The record keeping is, it just keeps everything running. There's historical records, there's foils, there's, requests from the public, requests from the government. She keeps it all running. And, she keeps this board running by doing that. So very, very important position. And thank you. You do an awesome job.
Patty.
Well deserved, Patty. Congratulations.
Patty.
I'd be remiss if I don't just say I could not have done this without your support, without your support. It's been an amazing few years, I've only been here 3 in my town clerk capacity, but I've had your support fully and definitely could not have done it without you.
Thank you,
Have that
and many,
support
many
going
more.
forward. Absolutely.
All right, number 2 on our agenda is a presentation by Westchester Power. Dan, come on up, introduce yourself, and get us going.
Our neighbor.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Do I need to raise this up? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Thanks for.
A little bit. There you go.
Well, you put a presentation up here, or are you just going to talk to it?
It's simple enough that I thought rather than mess around with
Okay.
technology,
Okay.
we'll just go through it. And-
Okay.
And I think
We have
you have it, so that's fine. I'm here with my colleague Jenna Amundsen, representing Sustainable Westchester, a membership-based nonprofit for those folks in the audience who are not familiar. One that was established in a previous guise as long as 9 years ago, and Somers was one of the original founding members and has been active all the way through. A lot of different programs going on that we put together as a sort of a shared service operation for our member municipalities and providing opportunities to execute their sustainability goals in a cost-effective way. And also to share best practices. A lot of our municipalities are out there doing great stuff on their own, and so it's a way of connecting us and sort of passing some of that on as well. And again, I know Somers has plenty of accomplishments under their belt. Some of the programs that you folks are familiar with and have participated in include Solarize. We've got the electric vehicle program going on. And we're starting a new program very soon called Heat Smart Westchester, which is going to promote energy efficiency and especially the new heat pump technologies for residential buildings, including ground source and air source heat pumps. So we've got a very modest grant from NYSERDA to start a campaign-based program for that. So a lot of exciting things going on yet and in the pipeline. Tonight, we wanted to come by. We haven't been by in a while, first of all, so want to make sure that we're staying up on things. But there's kind of a schedule out ahead of us as we near the end of the contract, the original contract. Let me just, again, for everybody's benefit, the program we're talking about is the Westchester Power Community Choice Aggregation, which is a kind of a clumsy word for big bulk power purchasing program, basically, where we go out for bids for power on behalf of the residents of the participating towns and hope to get good competitive and low prices and also secure green power, renewable energy again at competitive prices. And the program was crafted back in 2015-16. Westchester Power served as the first such program in New York State. There were 6 other states that had such a format before then, but we served as the pilot for New York State and launched in April of 2016, at which point they turned the pilot into a regular format available throughout the state. At launch time, we had 20 municipalities. 16 of those were in the Con Ed territory and 4 in our NYSEG territory, which included Somers, Bedford, North Salem, and Lewisboro. Since then, we've added Pound Ridge just recently. They're just coming in now. And in the beginning of this year, Croton came in on the Con Ed side. So there's 22. And then we have 2 more municipalities that have signed on and will be coming on with the new Con Ed contract at the beginning of 2019. That's Ardsley and Sleepy Hollow, brings us to 24. And 2 more municipalities have just 3 have just done their enabling laws. So we continue to add to the program.
Dan, let me ask,
Yeah.
as that volume increases, does that increase our bargaining power?
That's
with
the question we ask ourselves, and I suspect that the answer is at a point, no, not really. In fact, as it gets larger, there's a fewer number of ESCOs that can handle that much business at once. And we even think about, would there be an advantage to breaking into smaller units?
Yeah.
But on the NYSEG side, it's a smaller group in the first place, so we're not running into that situation. So it probably is a good thing on the NYSEG side, because at 12,000 or whatever we're at now, we could go up to 20, 25. I think it'd be very healthy and still attract
So there's 12,000 residents on the contract,
in the NYSEG side.
on the NYSEG side.
So there's different suppliers for the Con Ed to south and NYSEG up here.
Well, interestingly, there were when we started, and then Constellation, who was the supplier in the NYSEG area, swallowed up the operations of Con Ed Solutions, which was the supplier for
Oh,
the
really?
Con Ed area. So now we have one supplier, and we just went out for a contract solicitation for the Con Ed contract, which ends earlier than ours here in the NYSEG territory, and we went out to the entire list on the New York State Department of Public Service, all the registered ESCOs, did an RFI qualifying. That came down to about 6. And then as we went into the formal RFP stage, another couple dropped out. We had 4 running into the last day. And on the last day, one that we were kind of interested in because they were doing CCAs in other states dropped out. We ended up with 3 bids, which we still end up with good results. We actually shaved some money off of the existing residential. It was 8 cents, went down to 7.96.
So,
Right.
so how many homes in Somers, or how many households in Somers, you think?
So at launch, I was just looking at these numbers. There was 6,500 or so accounts. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about 7,500 households right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So that's after, the original file was probably 7,000 something, and then you have the opt-outs during the opt-out period. So at launch, we probably had about 6,500. We had significant, deterioration of the rolls, as you know, during that early period, especially with the day-night rates and everything. So we're at 40+% attrition at 3,800 or some odd residents now in Somers. And
Is that
So
is that
just a-
percentage is that the same as other places? That's generally what happens? Is that
No,
much
it's
dropout?
higher, and it was
Somers was higher.
the day-night, the inability to find a rate that worked with the day-night folks. Just had an extraordinarily high number of residents who were on that type of.
Right, so
So
just
just- I just
a
want-
real, so let me just recap, so it
Yeah.
makes more
That's what
sense
I'm
for the
trying to
public right now. We're talking about low cost fixed rates
Right.
that the town a couple of years ago opted into. So we moved everybody from NYSEG to Constellation. and we got a
right.
fixed rate where NYSEG was still going out and getting supply rates. Sometimes it'd be high, sometimes it'd be lower. This
Right.
was a fixed rate for everybody.
Right.
We did that for everybody and then learned that Constellation didn't have a day-night rate, where people in Heritage who had electric power were saving more money with
Electric heat,
NYSEG.
yeah.
So we told them, get
Yeah.
off of Constellation until they
Right.
have a day-night rate. And they now have a day-night rate.
Right, well, they're back in NYSEG with their day-night rates. So, and since we're on that subject, that remains, we're no longer bringing in new day-night accounts. We've isolated that and filtering them out when we do what they call the refreshes, because every quarter or so, we bring in new eligible customers that may have moved into town, or they came out of an ESCO or something, but we're filtering out the day-night rates. So that's something of a lot of interest to us. We're going to try and find something of value for them. And looking out ahead, where we think the value is going to come is in the what they call the community solar. And if just to provide the background on that, a couple of years ago, the state provided a new mechanism for allowing broader access to participating in solar projects, which they called community distributed generation. It means that you can sign up as a resident. You can be in a multifamily building and no access to your roof, or a house with trees that don't allow for solar, but you can sign up for a project which built on a big commercial building, across town or even across county, and get those kind of benefits. And so there's an opportunity in the future that we can roll that into our program and provide program savings, guaranteed savings.
So Dan, let me ask you, because once again,
Yeah,
this was a pilot for the town.
that's right.
Did we save residents money on their electric bill?
Yes. So there is a savings sheet here, although I haven't extrapolated. Our Jasmine, who does all our number crunching from us, has just got the quarterly numbers. We have here the NYSEG program-wide. I haven't distilled out what Somers looks like, but we are seeing savings. The average probably on a per account basis, you see if you're in the standard, and this is, we don't have slide numbers on here, sorry, but on the residential savings, if you're in the standard supply, we're about $164 over the 2.5 years period. And if you were in the green supply, it's less. There's a little premium there, not much, $124 an account. And
Okay,
so there were savings. It's not huge, but a little savings.
So I just
save
want
money.
to just sort of back up just for a second. I mean, the history is that we signed a 3-year contract, right?
Right.
That's going to mature in April.
Yes.
So part of this process is you're going to go renegotiate that,
Right.
right? And it may not be Constellation, it may be another carrier.
That's right.
The public has to know that we're going to go through that process again in this quarter, I guess, and you're going to probably talk about that?
That's one of the main reasons I'm here, yeah.
Okay, and so,
Just to start warming up for that.
okay, so I mean, so the focus is I think, a little bit about that process. I think what Rick was saying last time through was a little clumsy, right? Because we tried to get 6,500 households on, portion of them weren't eligible. And so we got to sort through that. There were some other budget issues as well, but once they got implemented, they had to go to the second carrier.
That's right.
And reestablish their budgets again.
Right.
So that timing and how we go about that, I think, is going to be of great
Absolutely.
interest to the rest of the town.
That's why I want to start early in this
Yes.
process. And one of the things I do tonight is ask you if you think there are certain places or forums or medium that we should be at. Maybe go to the library and hold a session there, or,
Heritage Hills, yes.
say we'll camp out in a corner of the library on a whole afternoon, and you help us to send out a blast and say,
Yeah, we can
hey, come
certainly.
over. So work with you to find ways to make ourselves accessible to people and answer their question. Let them know that they're in the program. Some people, to this day may not even quite be aware. But we want to start that process, and over the next couple of months, make sure that we're warmed up so that people can discuss this with eyes open and know where they are in the program.
So a nuance of that program was that you had to opt out. If you didn't opt out, you would be under contract.
That's right. And that's
So how are you going to handle that this time through?
Well, the interesting thing is that they're already in. So if they they're aware to that extent, but they'll still get the same notification letter. So there's a timeline as second to last slide here, which kind of lays that out. If you back off from that end of April contract date, it says that we've got to be going out with those opt-out letters in the middle of March sometime. And so that means we got to complete all that RFP process and contracting in the couple months before then. But they will get this same basic notification letter. It'll be a little. We now have two, because one is for residents who are already in the program, and so there's a slight change in the wording, because it's not like, hey, your town just did this, But they will get the same information that, if you want to opt out, this is what you do. If you want to change your supply from green to standard to green, this is what you do. Who you contact, you can call us on the phone, you can go to the website. It'll have town contact too. The state mandates that, but we want all the initial contacts to come to us so we can go through the basics with
Do
them.
you have a billing representative from NYSEG?
A billing
Somebody
representative?
that you're working with NYSEG as you go through this transition, that they're going to make it as smooth as possible?
We have our contact that handles the aggregation over there. So they will help with that, sure.
Right,
Yeah.
so Dan, according to your chart here,
Yep.
by February, you should have a supplier and a fixed rate chosen?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
so there's a bunch of other steps in here that the Public Service Commission mandates. In fact, for example, they added in the third to the last item there, a post-contract award outreach meeting. So once we do the RFP, we solicit, we make the award, we now have to go back out to the municipalities and have at least one meeting. The best is probably to come to your board meetings if it's televised or something.
Sure.
That gets it out there. We just finished 20 meetings out in Con Ed territory within the space of a month. I was at Newcastle last night, and so we'll be out
So
there.
just a
doing
nuance.
it. Yes.
You're going to go out with an RFP. The basis of that RFP is going to be all the terms and conditions that are in the present contract. And then are you going to alter them? And
So-
then what should we know?
Right.
Okay.
So the likelihood is the contract will stay much the same. It did in this Con Ed resolicitation. And the most important piece of our preparation for that is to work with the municipalities to decide what our target cap rate. As you recall, when we launched, we set out an MOU, and that MOU had two conditions in it. It said if we brought in the bids below the target, then the municipalities committed to sign the contract and go ahead with it. The second criteria was that we had to get the product offerings that we were asking for. So we used the same format again with this new solicitation with Con Ed. And to determine the cap, we used again the same kind of triangulation where we looked at the previous 12 months averages. In fact, we went back also 24 months, and we kind of took a look at where the rates were, and we said we had to come in below that 12 months average again. And on the Con Ed side, worked out pretty well for us. The resulting rate is lower than the current rate, which means that we're at a rate which is less than the 2015 rates, essentially, because that was locked in at that rate at that time. So, we'll share all the numbers with you, and we'll work together to identify the criteria of the MOU.
Well, it's hoped that we can get that same type rate for the NYSEG and for
Yeah.
Somers.
Yeah.
And just for the record, Somers opted into the basic program, not
That's
the
right.
green one, which was a little higher rate. And I see that because of that, we've had more of a savings.
Yes, that's right, and less of the carbon mitigation. And so we'd love you to give some consideration to whether you might move into the,
But an individual could move into that.
oh yeah, absolutely.
right.
But, you know, just like the whole premise in the first place, out in the ESCO world, most people don't sign up with an ESCO because it takes some doing. They have to sort through it. So it's nice to set the default at a rate. On the Con Ed side, where we had 4 towns that were in standard supply, 3 of them moved into the green supply this time. There's only 1 town in the.
So Dan, do
the
you
standard.
know everybody that's under budget though, right now? For
Sorry?
Constellation, do you know everybody that's under budget?
Well, they would.
Under a budget arrangement?
They would. I don't
They
have
wouldn't
that.
know that. Because, you know, last time when we went through this, it got clumsy when they made the change.
Right.
Residents had budgets
Right.
with the NICEAG rates.
Right.
But when they transitioned,
Right.
the
They had to-
budgets
they had to
were no longer
rebudget.
there, right?
For
And they
both
didn't
of
know
them.
that.
Right.
And they had to go
We
through
didn't know
another
that
process.
either
Yeah, we didn't know
until
that.
it
So
hit us over the head.
we just want to try to make that as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
If we,
Can that be a default too? If you were on budget, you stay on budget, or do you still have to go through? Do you imagine at least?
It's
You're still going to have
it's
to do it on an individual
particular
basis.
to the NICEAG billing system as opposed to Con
you
Ed
still have
where
to
it
do that.
was seamless. So we'll try to figure out the best way, even if it means. I mean, there's a good number of them, but if we have to do a special mailing to them, you know, just to make sure that they understand these things, then you know we can do that.
Let me ask you 2 questions. One, if a person was in originally, the original group, the cohort, and then withdrew, there's no way for you to send that mail to them. You will only have the people who are in.
That question came up, and we are doing that in the Con Ed territory because the consensus was that there's an awful lot of people who opted out in the beginning because, like, what's this? I just don't know. And then
Yes.
we've got a new deal and lower rates.
We're the NICEAG territory. You're doing
No, I know. I'm just saying that we use that approach in the Con Ed territory.
Con Ed.
So in NICEAG territory, that would be my.
So you have
proposal,
those
too.
people, and you would approach them again, give them because
Yeah.
it was at the beginning. It was controversial. The
Yeah.
supervisor's office got a gazillion
That's right.
calls on it, and people were unsure. I
Right.
thought something was being done to them. So I certainly know that I've saved money
Right.
with the program. And the other question I had was, as you go forward, you anticipate obviously there'll be the continued savings. You know, as we go. Otherwise,
So
that's by
here
definition.
I give my,
Yeah.
my stockbroker's spiel here, which is to say, it's a fixed rate program. We're going out with the buying power of a large group, so we know we're going to get a competitive rate. You know, apples to apples, 2-3 years, whatever our term is, we're going to have about the best thing that's out there. But because it's a fixed rate, we can't guarantee that versus the.
Well, that
the
happened right at the
variable
start,
rate.
right? For some reason, NICEAG
Well, that's right. So
cut
in the
costs,
beginning,
and people
were
said,
looking at-
"Whoa,
They
wait
were
a
looking
minute."
at it like day trading or something, and like,
Yeah.
oh, we're behind this month. But
Right.
you know, it's a long-term contract, and you've got to take it over time. So, am I optimistic? Yes, but I cannot say that we guarantee the savings. It's like when you say you lock in your oil price for your home over the winter or something, right? You want to make sure you don't get caught with some big spike. You lock in. You're not guaranteed to save because it might be like all of a sudden there's a warm winter and like there's a glut of oil and the price goes down. You know, that is a possibility, but we're in a very good position to assure that we
Dan,
have a competitive rate.
will you entertain a shorter term if you get better price performance?
So what we did in this contract was we said, give us your 2-year and your 3-year price, but also, you know, so we want that from everybody, but also give us any other term that you think it might be advantageous to us as an option. And we did see the indicative prices for 1 and then longer, and it turned out that there was a kind of a sweet spot at 2 years where that was just about as low as 1. We got a little longer run out of it, and then if you went even half year further, all of a sudden it went up, and so it's just the vagaries of the market, you know. But we could look at that. I mean, it would mean
So the answer is
it would
yes.
mean a quicker turnover and more of this, you know, kind of process.
So
but-
we're going to be seeing more of you between now and so I want to thank you for coming in tonight and giving us an update.
Great.
And contact my office and we'll, because you
Yeah.
asked about what other venues we could kind of bring you into.
Great.
So,
Yep, we want to be out there regardless and
Yeah.
meeting people and just sharing that.
So-
One thing on that, as you do that, you know, at the beginning, we all got all those phone calls, like, what did you people do? And obviously, it has worked out. But the other thing that I got a lot of phone calls on, and I'm sure the supervisor and all of us did, is those scams that
Yes.
they've been targeted. Just give us that number on your bill, and we'll take care of it.
Right.
I would suggest, though, as you go, be careful of whether you go in or not in this CCA program. But
Right.
I think to make people aware of that, because I know
Yeah.
several people called on that. One person got totally scammed because they gave up their number, which
Right.
gives the whatever company that is the right to change the supplier.
Not really the right,
with it.
it gives them the ability.
All right,
the
as-
ability.
As if,
Okay.
as if they
yeah,
got.
that's a good
agreement.
point, because
And
we
we
do want to
actually-
protect the residents.
Yeah, we got to protect them. yeah.
Jenny here has done many meetings with seniors groups that we find to be really effective. And so they bring in a big board which shows you how to read your bill, and they'll talk to people about how to distinguish, the energy charge and whatnot. So that would probably be a great thing to do if you have seniors meetings
I
here.
think you should warn them. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a
No,
great.
we'll definitely,
Again, regardless, it's just as a service to help them understand
Please.
that world. Yeah.
okay. So we'll definitely include those type of warnings in your
Great.
presentation.
All right, so we will be in touch, and as I say, the next phase would be some outreach and sharing some of the numbers, some more details on the numbers as we home in to try and create this MOU, which we'll look to try and get done early in January.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, everyone.
Regards to Lewisboro.
Yeah. Okay, moving along on our agenda, number 3, Somers Academy, update presentation. Come on down.
The box is back.
Yes, I'm gonna move.
Or rename that box Eric.
We just have long conversations about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are,
No, these are
Tom?
down there.
Want to get the lights? Okay. Thanks. No, Andreas got it.
Yeah.
is my face in there?
Or no chance?
I really just thought he was going to say something.
Is there a way, Patty, is there a way just to turn on one light here?
Any
so
lighting
that-
so I can see?
Absolutely.
Notes? Thank
Well,
you.
I'm gonna do the
Okay, well, as long as,
So,
I could have seen it 10 years ago. Perfect, thank you. Yeah, sorry, old.
Gotta see.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board. Congratulations, Madam Clerk.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Mark Weingarten. I'm a partner in the law firm of Del Bello, Dinellen, Weingarten, Wise, and Wiedeker. And it's my pleasure to be here this evening representing 294 Route 100 LLC and its agent Sebastian Capital, who's the landlord, together with Evergreen Ridge LLC, the school, in connection with their request for a text change to the town's existing zoning regulations applicable to the iconic property located at 294 Route 100, formerly known as the IBM campus. If approved, the changes to the OB 100 district, which we seek, will permit the proposed private for-profit boarding and day high school on approximately 345 acres. The changes will also limit certain uses on the remaining portions of the property. We came before you on September 20th, just about 6 weeks ago, in an informal meeting before we had actually petitioned to give you an announcement and a sense of what we were seeking to do on the property. We formally petitioned the town board for those changes on October 5, and you accepted that petition on October 11 to start the process, and you declared your intent to be lead agency. That 30-day period to where you can declare yourself actually lead agency expires in a few days, and we hope that that will be the next step in the process at your next town board meeting so we could get the seeker process underway with respect to our request. The owner of the property, 294 Route 100 LLC, is represented by Sebastian Capital, and Roxana Duran, the principal of Sebastian, is well known to you and is here with us this evening. Suffice it to say, as I told you last time, the parent company is a family-owned business out of Mexico. It is deeply capitalized and committed to the long-term investment in special places. It has over 3 million square feet in the New York metro area, and most importantly, not only owns the IBM campus, but also owns the Pepsi campus and is committed to a long-term investment and committed to Somers very strongly to the long-term growth of this community. As you are aware, the former campus was an important part of the fabric of the Somers community for many years, not to mention its vital economic importance. Like many corporate campuses in this region, unfortunately, the market for office, however, is just not strong enough to maintain all of that space that we have here in this area. It needs to be repurposed. If you look at Route 287 corridor in Westchester, they're a little bit ahead of where we are here, but they know that a lot of those empty office buildings had to be given to another use, and they've created things like schools, such as Fordham University. They've created hospitals, such as a Memorial Sloan Kettering outpatient facility, and even retail now in some of the places where a Wegmans supermarket is slated to open in Harrison. This proposal will restore the campus to productivity, will create a use for us on the campus, and will create those taxes which we know we need going forward for this community here. If the proposal that we make goes forward, the existing buildings will be reused for the campus for the 9 through 12 high school, and it will be, and you will hear more about it, a private STEM academy: science, technology, engineering, and math, also some arts. I know Tim's going to tell you all about that in a few moments, but we're very excited about the prospect, and we think this is the hot area of academics, and this is going to be a place that Somers can be very proud of. Now, the former IBM lab, and we'll show you more pictures as we go along, the corporate campus is really something special. It is picturesque. It's 743 acres in total. It's 1.2 million square feet of 5 IMPay buildings, designed buildings. They are all interconnected. At its peak, it had over 3,000 employees on the property, and it has over 3,200 parking spaces. It is a very special place. Our client bought it in the year 2016. The academy is expected to have a maximum of 1,800 students. About 85% of those will be boarding, and approximately 235 staff and teachers. As we said, the IMPay design buildings will be kept. All of the facade will remain exactly as is, with the exception of any changes that have to be made for fire code or building code. We don't want to touch those if we don't have to. Certain additional facilities, as you would expect in a campus of this nature, will have to be added, such as athletic facilities and fields, an arts center, hiking trails, and an appropriate residence for a headmaster. It is our goal to open fall of 2020, which doesn't give us a lot of time to get through this process, so I'll speak a little quicker. We're at it. We are here with a whole team. We're going to do that constantly because it's a complicated project, and we want to make sure that if there are questions, we have people to answer them. I don't have to go through everyone as you've met them. You will hear from Tim DeCipio, the CEO of Evergreen. I just want to say this. Every time we are getting to know them better and better. This project is moving forward. You have the public process here where we're working on the school, the property, how to get the project going forward. But there is a heck of a lot of work that's going on the other side of this, where they're putting this school together, they're hiring people, they're bringing in the money that's necessary to do it. All of those pieces are coming together, and they're working on this tirelessly around the clock, and Tim has put together quite a team. He works very closely with Titan Partners, and they have representatives here. Avison Young, again, nationally known, who's there. You're going to hear briefly from Eric Kyer, our architect, who's going to show you the site plan. We also have representatives from Kimley Horn. They are our environmental consultants. They're going to do planning, they do traffic, all of those things that are going to be necessary to happen. We also have our representative from Thompson and Bender, who's going to make sure that everything we do is in the newspaper and on a television, because that's the way we like it, right? So So everyone's going to know about this school. So at this time, what I'd like to do is to turn it over. I actually was going to show you a couple of pictures before Tim came up, just so everybody can, if you've never been up there, it really is. I know you always see those pyramids when you drive on 684, but it is a very special place. If you take a look at them and just picture having a school campus there is something special. Look at the lobbies in the main building. It's a special place. It's, I have to tell you, I'd like to go to school there. Some of these auditoriums, which will be repurposed for school use, they fit in perfectly for it. The cafeteria that's there, et cetera, you can just see that this is going to be a very special place. That's our team, and we have information on all of the various people if you need them. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim, and he's going to take you through a little bit, talk a little bit about the school. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can you give us a copy of, not actually all the pictures?
Absolutely. In fact, we should be able to give you a link, I would think, to this now that we have it. So after the meeting, we'll work on that.
If this is the same slide presentation you gave us back in September, it's up on the website.
Okay, it's been a little bit, it's been slightly updated, so we can we can just replace what you had with this. So it's close to it, but it's pretty much, it's close to it. Okay, Tim?
Yep.
Hi, everyone, and board members, council members, thank you so much. This presentation is a little different. My name's Tim DeCipio. I'm one of the founders of Evergreen Ridge. We're the school management and development company that's creating the school. This is Chris Curran from Titan Partners. They're also one of the founding members of Evergreen. Chris is going to say hi in just a second. Want to give you a little bit of background on myself. Been in education, international education, about 22 years, working with worldwide public and private schools, departments and ministries of education. I was the founder and CEO of a very well-known K-12 company called ePals Classroom Exchange, Cricket Media. We were a recognized pioneer and leader in K-12 education tools, curricular content. We did STEM projects. We actually had investors such as Microsoft, Dell, National Geographic, and partners such as Smithsonian, and actually IBM. I was on the Somers IBM campus 14 years ago when IBM wanted to host. When they got into hosting, they hosted our education platform, and we worked the deal out at the Central Services Building right at the top of the hill. So it was actually great to be back. But I built a company and managed 60 staff members and developed and deployed an award-winning platform that was in 90% of U.S. school districts, and at its height used by about 29 million students and teachers in 191 countries. So, and then after that, I took the international CEO position for Weiming. Weiming is Asia's one of Asia's largest private school providers with about 70 schools. And I restructured their international program, significantly increased their enrollment, and actually increased their student admissions acceptance to top 100 universities by about 28%. And it was a great experience. And actually, Chris and I have worked on and off for about 15 years. I'll let Chris tell you a little bit about Titan, but they're a close partner in this and an amazing company. And I'll hand it over to Chris, and then I'm going to come back and give this presentation. So,
thanks. Thank you for having us here. Thank you to the town and the board. Much appreciated. Just a quick couple of minutes on Titan Partners. I've been in education, capital, financing, and operations for most of my career, over 20 years. And we're an investment bank and management consultancy that works with global education companies in the K-12, post-secondary, and workforce and training markets. We buy and sell companies, raise capital, and invest in educational operating companies, as well as help operating companies develop and advance their goals in terms of projects like this. So we've worked with many similar projects and operating companies in the K-12 private and public school markets. We're delighted to be a partner to the town and to the project that Tim is facilitating and leading, and look forward to answering questions or talking to everybody over time, and much appreciated. Thanks for having us tonight.
okay. As Mark said, what we're looking to do here is build a world-class STEAM academy, and just for the record, in case anyone is STEM standing the acronym for science, technology, engineering, math. Put the arts in that, you get STEAM. This would be a boarding academy, grades 9 through 12. We are going to open in fall of 2020, but we're going to begin with grades 9 and 10. So that would be the opening of the school. We have a unique program curriculum. We have, of course, the required curriculum and AP courses, but we're also going to have an expanded track that aligns to emerging growth fields and enable students to engage in academic innovation, entrepreneurship, creative problem solving. I'll reference that in just a couple minutes. The admissions is not based on the highest GPA kids. We think there are skill sets in an array and variety that are important. Academic performance certainly, but creativity, leadership, empathy skills, and student desire to be curious and innovate and think big. As we said the first time we were here, this is a for-profit high school academy, so we would be a tax-paying entity. This is an iconic campus, and this is a unique and transformative redevelopment plan to create a state-of-the-art instruction and boarding academy, and we're very excited about it. This is just a snapshot of some of the academic program. They're going to tell you everything about it because we want to, save some of the surprises, but we'll have a required curriculum, AP courses, and then some of the expanded track items you can see here get into things like artificial intelligence, bioscience, robotics, enabling aeronautics, aviation courses. And where AP courses are sometimes for more that top academic student, we want every single student in this school to have access and exposure to these expanded track areas. So essentially, we're trying to integrate and align real-world industry relevance to course topics and give every student in the school exposure to that. Some of the things that differentiate, of course, what we're doing here is what I would call a cross-disciplinary STEM program integrated with the art and multimedia, creativity. Those of you that are parents hear the terms maker spaces, prototyping. Those are terms to describe, creating, designing, engineering projects, and certainly these will be around STEM projects. I have a big education tech background, but the humanistic elements are really important. I've been in over 900 schools worldwide, and for me, it's always the human things that stand out. And so things like team building, creative problem solving, goal setting, standing at the front of a class doing public speaking and presentations, these are things our school will do a lot of. Student collaboration. We want the kids to have exposure to international students, and it'd be my hope that we could get kids from at least 20 countries. We're going to draw top teacher and administrator talent domestically and internationally, and bring field experts and mentors in to assist teachers in creating that relevance we talked about. These will be modern instruction classrooms. As Mark said, this campus is absolutely spectacular, and we'll have interesting student spaces and lounges, a unique living center, dormitory, a head of school residence. I've put security systems on a couple of campuses, and certainly high security and a monitored campus are very important. And we'll be developing student policies for safety, certainly. Here's a glimpse at our student enrollment and teacher staff projections. So at maximum capacity, we'd like the ability for 1,800 students. We'll open in 2020 with that 9th and 10th grade at about 750 students, and then in 2021, hope to be at about 1,300, and then at full capacity in 2022, 15 to 1,800 students. 85% of the students will be boarding. We see the range of tuition, boarding, and fees right in the $49,000 range approximately. Day schoolers, which would be comprise about 15% of the enrollment. Tuition fees at about $37,000. And then at full capacity, we see a teacher staff number at 102 teachers, 23 administrators, and a support staff of about 110, which would comprise administrative assistants, maintenance, security, RAs in the housing, cafeteria, lab aides, shuttle bus drivers, etc. I've probably been asked 50 times now, so why would you do this in Somers? And the answer now is rapid, the same every time. Great town and a great campus. And this campus lends itself, I evaluated 30 campuses for another project I was involved in some years ago. This campus has all the right elements. It lends itself to a private high school layout. Most of the buildings are interconnected, and there's what we call a natural campus feel. And anyone that's been on the campus, I know some of you have been, you feel that IBM Innovation Lab and you feel that IMP Design, and in places it's serene, other places it's very modern, and it's a great feeling walking through the entire campus. High tech, and there's just overall, whether you're driving around the campus or you're inside, there's an amazing aesthetic, which is terrific. The town is very friendly, it's safe, it's ideal for students, and has the essential shopping, I should say the shopping essentials nearby. And families that put kids in private schools look for certain things. They prefer rural areas that are nice, but they want the kids to have proximity to major cities and maybe transportation into those cities to see a museum, see a show, see an event. And we certainly have that here. There's a potential for school students from New York City, day schoolers that could come up from the city. We're looking at that very closely. And this is an ideal town for parents that want to move, buy, or rent, and you can expect them to be close to their kids. And they might move into town, or one parent might move into town to be close to their boarding student child, or that student could become a day schooler, potentially. But families do move to towns that their kids are going to school in. And lastly, the schools here are impressive. And I said in the first meeting, we did a little research and we saw that Somers High School is an international baccalaureate school. That's fantastic. And it's got an early college course credit program with Rochester Institute of Technology. That's a great track for local kids to be on. I reached out to Superintendent Dr. Ray Blanche and said hi, as well as Somers High School Principal Mark Baer, to let them know who I was and what we were doing up on the Hill. And I told them if they had any questions, reach out. But I look forward to being, academic colleagues in town. Certainly we'll try to share resources if and when we can. We've already talked to some universities who are highly interested in working with us, and we expect that there might be some regional and global companies, labs, experts that will come forward too, and quite confident of that. The marketplace is very good for private schools, both domestically and internationally. And some numbers that just came out in February: international private school growth is up 5%, student enrollment in private schools up over 7%, STEM field jobs, multimedia jobs all up. So we're in the right spot there. And as we sort of wrap up on this, and Eric's going to show some new slides, we want to do as much community outreach as we can. Share projects with the high school or maybe Kennedy High School. And I've reached out to Father Valancourt as well, and I hope to talk to him in the coming week. But work with the school district team as much as we can, share academic or athletic events. And good private schools have a symbiotic relationship with the communities they reside in and the schools that are nearby. And we're going to make darn sure that we have that kind of relationship. And my last slide here, and Eric is going to jump up. We have very significant existing large commitments for campus redevelopment investment, and these entities are incredibly excited about this as much as we are. So we've got an experienced team of engineers, construction management, design companies. We've started to bring academic experts on, STEM curriculum specialists. They are top in their field. They're top, and actually, we've found all of them who live or work within 15 to 40 minutes of the campus. The new news, and I can't drop a name, but she is a pioneer in STEM, and she's been around a long time. She's not in New York, but she saw what we're doing, and she is probably going to help be an advisor, and she's very well known and has done more STEM curriculum writing as a specialist than anyone in the country, and she's very excited about what we're doing and thinks she can contribute. But we've got an experienced team here, and we have team leadership who are going to deliver a world-class boarding academy in the STEM field, and I think we're going to make the town really proud. So we're going to open up for some questions, but Eric's going to come up now and show some campus slides. We're almost done here.
Thanks, Jake. Eric Kyer, KGD Architects. I get to be fourth cleanup here, I believe. We're local. We're out of Mount Kisco. We're known for planning, design, and construction of schools. We worked with you in this community here 10 years ago. Councilman Clincy was involved with it at the Somers High School, Somers Middle School, and Intermediate School. Our program here shows that we're renovating or new additions and structures, including, but not limited to, taking the existing buildings, not touching the outside, but renovating the interiors. The new additions structures include head of school residence, a new art center, dormitories, new athletic center and athletic fields, baseball, softball, soccer track, tennis courts, and basketball, as well as jogging tracks and gardens. You've seen that picture. We are going to try, if this works, to do a very short video. I think it's about 30 seconds long. And this shows the former IBM campus as you're flying up to the main entrance. It's the central building in the background, going right over the central building. There are 4 triangular buildings that are interconnected by wings and quarters, interior quarters. This is the inside lobby and the atrium in the central building. Going down one of those corridors, leading to atriums in each one of those 4 triangular buildings. So that gives you a quick snapshot. The existing campus consists of 5 buildings that are connected, as we just saw. There's the central building, and then buildings 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each one of the buildings has a significant amount of parking adjacent to it, for a total of about 3,200 current parking spaces. We don't need anything close to that. We need probably plus or minus 600 parking spaces for our campus. So you'll see in the next couple slides as we go through this 3-phased from year 2020 to 2021 to 2022, how this plan is planned to be built out. But you'll see parking lots like this slowly disappear as they get transformed into playing fields that we need. And ultimately, about 12 acres of parking lot gets transformed into grass playing fields. So for 2020, the buildings in orange here are planned to be renovated. The central building will be renovated, as well as 2 of the triangular buildings and the links to them. 2 of the major parking lots, the one on the northwest as well as the northeast, will be transformed into 4 playing fields, and some of the other parking lots become basketball courts or tennis courts. For 2021, the yellow buildings are now completely renovated. The orange buildings continue to be renovated. So we had 1 dormitory renovated as for part in 2020. In 2021, there's an additional dormitory and another floor in the academic building, because the academic building for phase 1, we were renovating 3 out of the 5 floors. In phase 2, we renovate one more, and you'll see in phase 3, we renovate an additional one. We've also added on the back, on the north field, another set of competition playing fields, as well as a head of school residence. This is conceptual. How this actually gets developed in terms of the new buildings may shift slightly, but this is generally the concept today. And finally, for phase 3, again, in yellow are the buildings that are now complete. We renovate one more dormitory, and we renovate the top floor of the academic building, as well as take the parking lot on the south end and convert that to 4 additional playing fields. So ultimately, we have plus or minus 10 playing fields, and all 5 of the existing buildings are renovated. And in between buildings 3 and 4, I probably should go back. Here, we're currently showing this is where the athletic and arts center would be located. That's the presentation.
So again, we're sorry if some of that was repetitive, but again, this is our first formal meeting, and we wanted to put that into the record. We have our team with us here. There is no official action that we're requesting tonight. The next step would be the lead agency status being officially confirmed, which you can do, I guess, after a few more days, so maybe at the next meeting. And I'm told we're contemplating a joint meeting on all of this board and some other boards to talk about the interconnection of how that's all going to work and who's going to be in charge of what. So we're very excited to get started. I mean, I will say just a couple of quick things as summing up from our perspective. I'll give you my own perspective. I'll tell you a couple of things. Firstly, I will tell you I was very excited to be at a Cornell board meeting the other day where I heard that is now the first top engineering school in the country where they have more than 50% women. Now, you think about that. When I went to school, there were no women in the engineering school. So this is a very active space, which is going, we're very, I talked to Tim about it. We're very committed to this being an idea where this is something that's going to really work and that there's a market for this and it's really taking off in the U.S. And it's something we really need because when you look at the jobs that are here in Westchester County, the companies that are working in Westchester County, the Regenerons of the world, the ones that are filling out the spaces, these are the kind of students that they're going to need. So we just think this is really something that is going to put Somers in a position of importance with respect to the rest of the county. Secondly, when we look at this process that we're going to engage in, we just keep in mind this is a site that was designed for much greater impact than what we're talking about. It was designed for thousands of employees and thousands of cars and thousands of parking spaces, and we're going to be taking that impact down considerably to be able to create this, which we're the good fortune of this from the standpoint of being able to reuse the facility, because again, we were in a position, Sebastian, the parent company is in a position of also owning Pepsi and very committed and having some great success, slow, but moving forward with respect to tenanting that property. And it is being re-tenanted, much different than other places in Westchester where those buildings are just empty. So that's going to happen. But to be able to do both campuses was something that just wasn't going to be possible. So what we want to be able to do is create another use. And I think we're very lucky to have something here that's going to be able to fill up that campus and put it right back on the rolls very quickly for all of us. So that's our presentation for tonight, and certainly we're available for questions.
I want to thank you, but I'm going to ask the board to return to the dais because we have some questions for you.
Okay.
Bob, could you flick the light on? Thanks. Yeah, if you want.
We got to get him a better box.
Thank you, sir. Okay, well, Tim, I have a question for you. The first presentation, I mean, besides the involvement of the town, and we're going to go through the secret process, but on the educational front, you have to work with New York State for credentialing too, right? So could you give us a kind of a roadmap where you are with that?
Right, so there are two portions of that. There's accreditation, and accreditation for a new school is about a 4 or 5 year process. That starts for every new school, and our academic team are aware of that process. I've actually been through it, and then there are 21 items that New York State wants you to meet to actually become a school. And essentially, those 21 items make sure that you offer basically the equivalent of schools nearby. And you have to meet all of those items, then you have to have a CO. And so we've talked to Albany a couple of times on those items. We have a person there that can be our guide should our academic team have questions. But we've been in touch with them a few times, and I've actually talked to the contact in Albany. So, and that is a process. So, yeah.
And all this is going to happen by 2020.
Yeah, we've had long discussions with the team about what we need to get there and where we need to hire and our academic programming that starts with 9th and 10th grade. So we're very confident.
Just curious, what do you foresee your needs from, let's say, our safety infrastructure, police, fire, you
Right.
know,
EMS.
EMS, yeah.
Right. So there's we're developing student policies for safety on campus and certainly any students leaving campus, right? So that's something that I think we even have to engage the town on, students leaving campus.
Yeah, I mean, some of that obviously is going to be a
Let me
secret
just mention,
process.
the
but maybe you
secret
can-
process,
yeah.
the secret process, we've already put in an expanded EAF. We're working with your planners. I can assure you that the security issue and the use of the public infrastructure will be a full section that will have
Just
to have
trying to
a
get a
full
sense of
study.
it, you know.
Right.
Good.
I don't know that we have that yet. We have experts here, but we're going to have to probably bring in some more sub-consultants to put in expert reports on those particular issues.
Okay. On the academic side, you're putting your team together, right? Are they going to be housed over here very shortly?
The academic team right now are consultants that are looking at the academic vision on what course tracks we're going to offer. We're looking at a head of school right now. We want to hire a head of school immediately and have that person just see the whole vision and process through. We're not hiring teachers just yet.
Of course.
Right. We're really mapping out the academic programming. So there are different phases to this. There's a point, though, where we will take on teachers before the school opens. They'll be in the building and getting ready for a launch. But the academic team right now, really consultants designing the whole programming track.
But other than, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just going to say, it's awesome, okay? It's very aggressive time schedule. I'm thinking at some point you start recruiting not only teachers but students. I mean, how do you see that happening? Just give the public a sense of
Right.
how you're going to implement that.
Right. So, and then parallel to that, remember this,
It's all going
a lot
parallel,
of
I
moving
get it.
parts, moving in parallel. So parallel to the academic programming, you've got an enrollment recruitment track, and there are consultants and agents that move across the country to talk with communities and other agents who represent families who have kids that are interested in private school. And what we're trying to do here is offer a school that will encourage families to have their kids go halfway or fully across the country. But there is a channel where that enrollment recruitment happens. And that's one thing I think our team really have here, great networks and channels for enrollment, not only domestic, but internationally. We're connected with, they're called agents, but that's what they do. And then there's certainly marketing channels. There are industry publications where the school will be marketed and promoted. And then we have a PR campaign strategized. So,
I have one more question on size and scale, and this maybe goes to your financial guy, Titan. I mean, how, in terms of the things that you've done in the past, I mean, how does this scale in size to what you've done? Is it one of the biggest projects, or?
It's in line with many of the projects we've done. We've worked for some of the largest school developers and operators in the world, including GEMS International, to some of the smaller local schools in Westchester County. We're an advisor to Greenwich Education Group. But I think you need to look at Titan both as a capital facilitator, but also as a general contractor. There's lots of different phases that are tied to preceding conditions that are relative to your approvals. So there's regulatory, there's an architectural and development, there's the infrastructure, there's a facilitation of capital, and then there's the interim team development, which are the consultants that Tim is related to, that are involved with the recruiting, the operational elements, the facilitators to the pre-recruitment and post-opening And then there's the actual hiring of all the staff and the board of operators that will be the headmaster to the local classroom TA. So all these are phased and sequenced according to the processes and protocols that we're going through now with the board and the town. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of spinning plates, and that's what we're good at doing, and not just with schools, but also large operating companies and large educational software, professional development, college program management companies. We're involved and have been since our inception a decade ago with a wide set of scaled operations. This is in terms of the impact we want to have and what our aspirational goals are. We're looking to be a next generation version of an Avenues or what GEMS has done in the international marketplace with the best-in-class STEM academy. We think we've got the people, the programs, and the right team around it to perfect it. So there's a lot of things happening, a lot of things we're prepared to talk about with great detail, and others that are predicated on the approvals we're trying to seek and working with the town to prosecute forward on the great school operations we're going to achieve.
Chris and I have met with a couple of potential senior administrators. We've been having Sunday breakfast with a few folks. So, and we had a potential IT person just come through the building, an IT education professional come through the building and look at everything.
Just a couple of questions. So since you were here last time, I did a little homework. So I've talked to three of the schools in the surrounding area that would probably go after the same people, and one friend up in Massachusetts who recruits internationally just to see what they think, along with the school district here. I've talked to them numerous times about it. So, I mean, no surprise to you. They all go, 1,800, that gets their attention, 1,800 students. So I would assume that's a large, you said last time about 20% would be foreign at your height?
Potentially, yeah. That's typically, and that's what we're targeting. And that's
you may want to
typical
use the
of
mic there.
Yeah. About 20% is typical for a private school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your student-teacher ratio would be about 18-1.
If you look at those numbers we just showed on enrollment, it's 18-1.
Right.
But many of our classrooms will have 2 certified teachers teaching. Again, when we get through the academic programming track, we'll know which ones have 2 teachers, and we're actually anticipating that number goes to about 13 or 14 to 1.
One of the questions from the school district was, what about special education? So if a kid is from New York State who requires special education, and if he does come to your school, of course, you may say, well, we don't have that program. I'm not quite sure the legalities there. Then they're responsible for some sort of funding that comes through, and they said, can you just ask them to illuminate on
Right.
that, what your plans are for those who may need special ed if you have such
Right.
plans?
We're going to make plans for that. Our education consultants had a discussion on that actually about a month ago.
Yeah.
And so that's something, and I'll get you more detail on that, but that actually came up at a meeting. We discussed it for about 15 minutes in terms of, how that would work. But we're planning on making the campus available to special ed.
Yeah, I think the school district's point
Yeah.
was, I think that some funding has to come through the school district to get to you as it does for Kennedy.
Yeah.
So I think that was what they were referencing. You also made a point that you have people coming up on the train and you want the kids to use New York. If they're coming from another part of the country or another part of the world, what a great resource New York City itself is. And so you'd utilize the train. So last time you were here, I think we were all making a point that you don't want to be apart from Somers, but you want to be a part of Somers. And of course, we want you to do that. Did you think about that, sidewalks from the, did you put that in your plan yet? From the train station to your school?
We haven't yet.
All right, good. We can work on it together.
But we promise you this, we'll discuss it a lot more.
Please do. You are a STEM. So Somers has made a real commitment. You might have heard from the presentation before this about environmental things that we tend to favor here, and we're proud of that. So as a place that focuses in on that engineering math, and you want it to be world class, do you have plans to make that a particularly green campus? Is that something that is going to be part of your hallmark in terms of geothermal or solar or recycling to the hilt. You're going to be a leader in that. That would help. And maybe your knowledge of that will help the rest of the town as we try to proceed and become a leader ourselves.
Right.
Is that part
Great
of what
question.
you've discussed so
both
far?
our academic consultants and our contractors have actually begun talking about this and what we could do on the campus. So that's actually something we're looking at budgeting on, and they're actually looking into very specific things that, and one of them is actually talking to the state about what potentially is available.
What is currently up there? How do they produce the energy that you would use?
I'll just say that sustainable design will be a part of the entire aspect of the design that we put together.
What do they have right now up there on the campus itself? Is it oil and gas, or what do they have?
Yeah, if you go down to their mechanical space, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's obvious. It's 1.2 million square feet
Yeah.
of space. They have a central plant, and that central plant distributes air and water throughout the campus.
Is that infrastructure such that it needs to be replaced by something different, or it would simply, it's in good shape?
The existing system's in good shape. One of the most sustainable things you can do is reuse a campus. So the first thing that we're doing here is we're taking 1.2 million square feet of space and we're repurposing it. That's the number one thing in terms of sustainable design. So that's pretty amazing right there.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, most of those primary systems will also be reused because they're all in excellent shape and been well maintained over the years. So it's really when you get into the actual triangular buildings where there's branches and you're doing reorganization that you have to pull back some of the branch piping and branch ductwork and reduct and repipe just because you're rearranging spaces. But the actual base systems are all intact.
But the plan is to, if I hear you correctly, it is to advance so-called green technology and make that something that we would, like you say, we would all be proud of.
You saw a slide there where it had a white pebble roof, for example. We'd love to turn that into a green roof. I'm sure that over time, we will continue to add other things. There's a lot of flat roofs there. So your previous presentation on solar and photovoltaics, there's a lot of flat roofs that
I think
could
that's
utilize.
the question some people are coming up with. Right?
So there's a lot of opportunity there,
Right.
and we'll be developing that.
Especially as a STEM academy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, our advisement to the operating company has been, what's unique about the curriculum and the program that's being put together here is that 50% of the jobs that the first class of these graduates will be prosecuting forward toward their careers. Yeah, I'm saying 50% of the jobs that the first graduating class from this program will be seeking in their careers don't exist yet, right? That's the advantage to the curricular elements of this program and the specialization of it. We're building toward a skills gap in the future. It's giving kids an advantage that have a proclivity toward the STEM curriculum areas to have an edge in getting to the best collegiate programs and the best careers in those areas over time. As far as an operating company and an operating plan, we're going to make decisions based on the town's protocols, the regulatory parameters we're operating in, but also the best safety, best learning environment, and best educational experience for the students we're trying to serve. It's a for-profit entity, a tax-paying entity. Those are going to be decisions that are made through the development and planning as we finance the project. But some of those things will be revealed over time as we get further through the accreditation and the approval process. But that's our goal and that's our objective, and that's why it's such a special program in our opinion.
Just last question. I think I counted 10 fields are going to be created, or 10 playing fields of some sort. Did I count it? Are those grass fields? Are those turf fields? There's going to be a combination. And the athletic department in Somers says, can we use them?
But it's not obvious. There's going to have to be at least one basketball court for Tim and I to be able to.
All right, we're in for that.
Other than that, yes.
Some discussion on grass versus turf.
We're currently planning on all fields being grass.
All grants. Okay. So, one thing I heard you mention tonight was that this is going to be a co-ed academy?
Yes.
Okay.
50-50? Or Party.
Shoot for that.
So a question on that related to security. A lot of the college campuses have these, what the students call blue light services and infrastructure. Are you planning that? Basically, what that means is at no time is a student more than 50 feet away from one of these little podiums, so that is blue lit, and you can just kind of hit that like a panic button. It's like 911, but better because it gives your location.
So our team are
Tim,
looking at
Mike?
a variety of, oh, sorry, guys. Our contractors are looking at a variety of systems. So the blue lights, I'm very familiar with it. So I'll be talking to them in terms of what we commit to in budget, and we'll have more details. I mean, these are all things we'll have specific information on coming. Yeah.
I just want to mention again, and I know you're familiar with it, but for those watching for the first time, all these questions you're asking are going to be answered. They're going to be answered during the process, and you're not going to approve us until we have the answers. So some of these things, as we said, this is a work in progress. We are moving forward, and we will be hiring the experts in these fields, and they're going to tell us what they think is necessary or best. Clearly, we'll be taking advice, but to come in and give you a proposal, for example, on these various things and say, this is what we're planning, and hopefully it's going to be something that, clearly will work with you, but you're going to say, yes, this is the way we want to do it here in Somers.
Okay, that's good to know.
All right.
Any other? All right, well, I want to thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for coming in again. We look forward to our joint meeting, where if you think you had a few questions tonight, you're going to have 3 or 4 boards peppering you.
We're counting on a much more technical meeting coming out of those various boards, and we hope that there'll be a declaration of lead agency, I would assume, in the interim, so that we can officially potentially
Well,
start.
not in the interim, really, because
Meetings before the next meeting.
There is no other?
The joint meeting is November 29th,
That's the next meeting?
and there won't be another town board meeting until early December.
But can we do it at the special meeting?
Could you do it?
You can notice it.
Depends on how it's noticed. Is it being noticed as a work session or a meeting?
I can't answer that because I've heard rumor to other
All right, we'll figure that out.
things
Okay.
happening.
If it's possible, I think it is legally, you'd have to take steps to be able to do it. If it's possible, we would urge you to try to take the step. It's just simply, if nobody has objected, and we don't think anybody has,
Confirm.
My
it's just
understanding-
confirming it.
It's being noticed as a special town board meeting.
Right,
Oh,
and
good. Then
so
we
if,
could do it.
if you would do that, you could do it then, and then we can get physically started into the official part of the secret process and get all these studies started,
Good.
commenced. That would be
You know,
great.
it's
No,
sad.
it's,
If it's going to be a special town board meeting, then you can do it,
Great.
because it's just
and
one
it
resolution.
is, and will be.
I don't think you brought enough consultants tonight, so I think next time bring a few
Well,
more.
we're gonna continue to pack the room because we keep thinking that we can outvote you. So that's
Certainly looks like.
well, thank you for having us.
Thank
We
you.
can't outpay you.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break while presenters.
So they can have a special meeting.
Half the room leaves.
Okay, before we move on to our next agenda item, which is the budget and setting salaries for elected officials, I have an add-on to the agenda, and the reason why we're adding it on, you'll learn a little later, but if we decide to act on an energy audit with a company called Johnson Controls and an energy upgrade direct install program with NYSEG, we can save the town about $15,000. So I think it warranted. I don't normally like to add agenda items, but I think at this point it did warrant it. So we have Don Bleasdale with our Somers Energy Environment Committee. He's the chairman. And as you recall, he talked to us about 2 companies that were going to do our energy audit.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Don, how are you?
It's revised.
Is it?
It's always. So, was just talking to Bob, that he had reached out to Chappaqua and Tony Lewisboro.
Right.
One had a contract with Honeywell, one had a contract with Johnson Controls, and they both seemed to be very happy with the work. And to me, there's not much really difference. They're obviously established, they've done major work. The big thing is, okay, yes, they say we're gonna do a contract, we'll proceed. They have to come back and say that it's in their interest, that they're gonna be profitable for them to do it. As Councilman Clinchie had said, several years back, he tried this, and they came back and said, wasn't
worth
enough
it.
there, right?
Right.
So, and just speaking with Bob, this was recently this week, the NYSEG thing seems to be relatively a no-brainer. After, they had 2 years, even if you double that to 4 years.
As a payback.
As a payback, after 4 years, you're saving thousands of dollars a year on energy costs.
About 30, according to their calculations. What I just handed out to you.
Yeah, good. That's awesome.
Okay, so the NYSEG program, as I understand it, the direct install is, you walked around for about 3.5 hours, brought them to every town building, they looked at all the fixtures, and this would be really them replacing fixtures and light bulbs?
Yes,
LED?
with LED, because right now, most are fluorescent, some are incandescent. So we literally looked at just about every light bulb. We went to the salt shed, we went to attics and basements, and saw parts of the town I'd never seen before, or knew it existed. But he counted all the lights. There's more detail to this. This is just a summary. So what he's calculating is an overall cost for about $102,000, of which NYSEG would match $38,000. So our nut is about $63,000. So he's calculating an annual savings of 30. So the payback would be 2 years. So even if you discount that, so if he may have, looked at some usages more than you actually do, if you discount and cut it in half, it's a 4-year payback. So I see any way you look at this, it's a no-brainer
So
way
what
for
isn't one of the locations of the lighting change the tennis courts?
Tennis courts, yeah, that's where, if you look at this, it says, under Reese Park buildings, there's a cost of $32,000, there's the funding of 15, and the energy savings is 12. And so the more allocation of the NYSEG funding would come because of the bigger bang for the buck for NYSEG. Because they're very expensive lights to run.
So under Reese Park buildings, that includes the
That
tennis
includes
court?
the tennis court.
But it doesn't include the baseball field, the
No,
biggest
it does not include any.
because that's the big energy
Yes.
thing.
That's not something that they would, the NYSEG,
Really?
this program covers.
Yeah, okay. Now, and NYSEG they don't guarantee any of these, like Johnson and Honeywell will guarantee savings, and if you don't meet them, they fill in that gap each year, so it's always a money maker. NYSEG doesn't do this, but we pay, it's done, and then we just get savings forever.
Well, just the very nature of switching to fluorescent to LED, we're guaranteed, we know there's gonna be a saving, it's just a matter of what percentage, and he said up to 50%. So one thing that we're looking for the board to approve tonight is to go with Johnson Controls, at the recommendation of the Energy Environment Committee and Don. And then Johnson Controls would kind of take over this installation. They would look at the numbers, they would work with the contractor, make sure that they're putting in the equipment that makes sense, and that they would probably opine that we would get near to these savings that they're saying we'd get. So we would kind of offload a lot of the admin of the install to Johnson. And with that, this energy performance contract, which we may or may not follow through with them, they come back and look at other things to do. Could be boilers, it could be field lights, what have you. And then all in, they would come up with a proposal to do these projects, and the savings from those, from the lighting and the other items would essentially pay for themselves.
But that'll all be done by Johnson at that point?
Yes.
That savings will go to Johnson. Johnson would use that to reinvest in all the other types of things.
Well, savings, part of the overall cost is their profit.
Right.
But our savings will pay for that, in part. So
Okay.
we're saving, they'll guarantee us a certain amount of savings.
Well, why does Johnson want to take over the administration of the NYSEG
Well, that's what they would be doing anyway. The whole energy performance contract, one of the main
Yeah.
reasons, the savings that we would get to pay for other projects would be lighting. So this is the fact that NYSEG would pay for 40%.
I'm just wondering, because Johnson doesn't get any money out of that then, right?
Was Johnson planning
It would be
to,
the other projects.
So that's, I guess that's my question.
I
It's
would think
contingent
so.
upon them with the rest of the project. But then they have to see if they will make enough money, because in 2013, they said, there's not enough savings to offset what we would need to spend, so that was it. So it might be different now.
Right.
Well, let's get them to do
technology
this,
changes.
save us some money, and then they see what they come back with.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, well, the only thing we'd be doing is saying, to give Johnson the ability to come in, look at our projects. There's no cost to do that.
No, right.
And then in the meantime, they would look at this and help us through this, because this has to happen this year.
There's a initial deadline that you get a better,
Right.
higher aid or
Right.
partial.
Yeah, November 21st.
I just have one question that may be a nuance, though, with the NYSEG, right, when they're replacing, putting LEDs in, does that include maybe, does it require infrastructure, as well as the lights to be changed?
I think,
Am I saying
not-
that correctly?
not being an expert, I think with certain fluorescent lights, they might have to do something with the ballast.
Right.
But your typical light bulbs like that, I think they're just,
And what about like at the tennis courts? They have to replace infrastructure, and is that part of this cost? I mean, that's
Everything to get the LED lights on and working is part
are
of
in
this
here.
cost, including the labor.
Yeah,
This
okay.
isn't just the materials, this includes the labor at prevailing wage.
Okay.
I mean, it might seem that this program would make it harder for Johnson to make it work.
That's
And
what
that
I
may
was
be true,
thinking.
but that doesn't really matter if you're gonna be saving, let's say.
Right, if
after
we're
you
the
pay back-
beneficiary of.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take it in half, your annual savings are 15,000 times 12 years is how much money? $200,000. That would be nice for Johnson to give you that savings so you could pay that towards what it costs to do the upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
But
One thing to understand with this contract, if you ever do agree to it, they a lot of it is they put in sensors. It could be what you have the temperature set at in various buildings. You've come to an agreement with them to keep the buildings at no more than 72 degrees in the winter or 72 degrees in the summer.
It's automated.
So if they see that you're not doing that, that would affect your contract with them. And they would say, well, we were gonna guarantee you a certain amount of savings, and since you're not doing that, we can't guarantee that. So you have to live within the contract to agree to keep the buildings at a certain temperature. And the usage, you'd have certain things to make sure the lights go on and off when you're occupying or not occupying the buildings.
they do the measurement and verification on a
Right.
yearly basis.
Well, yeah, and would any of this, because I know it's, one room in this townhouse has an old dial
Yep.
thermostat. Obviously, I mean, whether we do anything here anyway, I want to get those replaced to programmable.
Yes.
Because it's ridiculous that,
They'd have to have that so they can track all the usage. I mean,
Okay.
there's no way for them not to.
Right, so we need to take two actions, I guess. On the recommendation of the Somers Energy Environment Committee, I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement with Johnson Controls for the energy audit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And I guess the second action is to enter into an agreement with NYSEG for their energy upgrades, the direct install program assessment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I just want to thank Bob because NYSEG made a proposal, you jumped right on it, found it, figured out the deadline, got to it. And, obviously to Don and the Energy Environment Committee, always looking to save energy and save money. And that's the win-win, obviously, that you're always looking for in this. So, as we always say, that committee is overworked and understaffed. So we need more volunteers, but thank you.
No, and I want to reiterate that, Bob spent 3.5 hours of his time this week, or was it last week, going around to every building.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you coming out tonight to propose this for us. So keep up the good work, gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very much so.
Okay, so our next item on the agenda is to set salaries for elected officials. This is in keeping with our 2019 budget obligations. The first, and we'll.
I want to look at them in general right now, because the four that we have to vote on today are the supervisor, superintendent of highways, town board, and town clerk. Now, the supervisor never gives himself a raise. You know, he leaves it up to us. In this budget.
No, well, this is, my budget going forward.
No, I know, understood,
Okay.
understood. No, I'm sorry, that's, but, you know, in the budget that we're looking at right now, if you've seen the, which one, we're in the preliminary or the tentative?
Tentative budget.
Thank you. You know, we've given the department heads all 5% increases, and I would suggest that the supervisor is a department head of the town. So I would keep it in line with what the other head of departments are getting. So that's me, you know, obviously it's the four of us.
Yeah,
Talk
I'd agree with that, but also for other reasons. There's future boards and there's future budgets, and if any of these positions fall way behind on the salary curve, then one day they're going to have to be way adjusted. So to avoid a large incremental increase in the future, we keep it on pace with the other department heads. I agree with Councilman Garrity.
Okay,
No, I think, what are you suggesting, maybe, in line with the contracts, like if the
No,
contracts.
I'm saying right now that, you know, again, the supervisor is somebody, he doesn't get a step, he doesn't get, stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm just saying department heads. He's a department head, much like Patty and Bob and Michelle. And that's where we have, and I think, you know, at least right now, I think we're in agreement that those increases are gonna go through. So I would just put him on the same level with the rest of them.
No, I would agree with that.
Five.
I would agree with
They
that.
are?
Yeah, they're all five.
All right, I forgot.
All right,
So
so-
basically, it would bring the supervisor's salary up to 109,233. So do we vote on these individually?
Yeah,
Just his,
yeah.
Just his?
just his. And then the other three,
You can do it together? Okay, so I make a motion that we put in the supervisor's salary for 2019, a 5% increase, resulting in a salary of 109,233.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Not,
Sorry
nay.
about that, I almost forgot that
Recuse.
one.
Recuse or abstain?
We were gonna
Recuse
sit there
or
in
nay?
silence for a while, because I forgot I had to say that.
Okay.
On the next one, I think that we all
Yes. Actually,
had
that's true.
agreed that the town board should not receive any pay increase.
Okay, well, I'm going to use the same logic that was just applied to the supervisor salary. We work long and hard on putting the budget together, and you guys do come out 2, maybe 3 times a month now with our special meetings. So I think 2% increase is very modest and for the board. I'll just say that.
We got an increase last year. I think that's enough.
Yeah, we
for
got
me.
we got
It's
an
such
increase
a little
last
money.
year.
What's the difference?
Yeah,
Come
it
on.
doesn't really matter, but, you know, again, sooner or later you do get behind. I think what needs to happen at some point, and I'm not saying this year or next year, is that the board almost has to step away from it, because, you know, it's always interesting when you're giving yourself a raise, even if it's, you know, $200 a year. And there probably should be some sort of a mechanism put in place that automatically enters it, so, you know, at a not, you know, at a low level. But again, we did give ourselves one last year, so I have no problem with zeroing it out this year.
You know, Congress can't raise its own pay. U.S. Congress cannot raise its own pay. They do it in a different way. They do get paid, but that is law. There might be something that we would consider. What they do is they do what you said.
Yeah, like a.
They build
like
it
a
in some
COLA or
sort
something
of
like that.
COLA,
Yeah,
right.
there's a set number that it would go up, so it doesn't look, people can't say, oh, look, they just gave themselves a raise, because they hear that, they don't hear that it's $200. But again, this year, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with passing on the raise.
Yep.
So do I need to do that
You
separately?
just need to tell me what the amount is.
Okay,
It's good.
He's
I'm gonna make a motion.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'll make a
The power was
mo,
overcoming me.
calm down. I'll make a motion to set the town board salary at $12,612. That's a 0 increase over 2018. The highway superintendent to $112,309, which is a 5% increase, and town clerk salary to $77,968, which is also a 5% increase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2019 tentative budget as the 2019 preliminary budget.
Second.
Preliminary.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And I'd like to schedule a public hearing for the preliminary budget for December 6th, work session.
Second.
But we gotta give a date. Oh, you said the date.
He did.
Oh, hold on,
December
somebody's
6th.
somebody's charging the podium. Oh, it's Bob. Hey, Bob.
All right, so December 6th, we'll do it at a work session. All in favor? Oh, second?
Second.
Is that the second, that's the second meeting?
No,
Is
that's
that-
the first of the
Responding to
month.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
first.
Okay,
Before
I'm
we
sorry.
vote on it, let's hear from Bob.
Is the 6th the second meeting?
No, it's the first.
First meeting.
It's a work session.
Do you want to discuss the superintendent Parks change that we had talked about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if we didn't,
Yeah.
so,
In the tentative,
Yeah, and the
superintendent of Parks was at
The Parks
2%?
is at 95.
Yeah, we're gonna go
Superintendent
five.
Parks is at
Increase it by
95,817, which was 3%. And we talked about modifying it to be in line with the other department heads, and that would bring them to 97,677.
Yep.
So we can include that in tonight's,
Yeah, it's just they
And
need
that's
to.
yeah,
vote on
they're
the
separate
notice.
from the elected.
This is just a discussion.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay?
All right.
And the timing for the approval on the 6th works with you? Is it better for you if we wait till the next
No,
meeting?
tonight would be good, so I can update the budget. The fewer changes later is better.
Okay,
Right.
so once again, this discussion, we can still make changes to the
Yeah,
budget,
you can
Do
always
whatever
up,
Yeah,
changes you want right
exactly.
now.
Okay.
which
but
we,
it kind of brings it in line with
Yeah.
everybody else.
okay, yep, thanks for pointing that out.
Thank you.
All right, we'll make that change. All right, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the preliminary budget for December 6th at our work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay.
Patty, at that public hearing, do we have to adopt the budget then, or is it the
No.
next week?
No,
You have to adopt it by December 20th.
Right.
Here.
so we'll do
And
it
we
the
may-
following meeting.
There has been talks about having a special meeting, correct?
Yeah,
Well, if we can't figure it out by the
Oh,
second
that's,
meeting.
that's to benefit the bookkeeping part of that, right? I think that's what he wanted. Yes?
No, for the budget. If you,
He said later the better, he said.
he'll settle it.
Okay,
there we go.
got it.
Okay, next item on our agenda is personnel. Current vacancies on affordable housing, partners in prevention, and our Somers Energy Environment Committee. They're here almost at every meeting. It's a very active and interesting committee, so come on out and volunteer for that. Upcoming vacancies, library board, planning board, and zoning board. Once again, those are incumbents' terms. We offer, most times we offer extension of their service if they're interested, but we vote on it. Number 3, under personnel, authorize the hiring of Rona Wallach as senior office assistant in the town clerk's office at an hourly rate of $15.
Court,
What did I say? I say clerk? It's court office.
not coming in.
at an hourly rate of $15 per memo dated November 1st from Barbara Lloyd, Court Clerk, effective November 9th. Motion to hire.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. And then, I make a motion to hire the rehiring of Patricia Nicolosi as a part-time availability office assistant, automated systems, to continue her work with the Board of Assessment and Review at an hourly rate of $17 per memo dated October 30th from Teresa Stegner, assessor, effective immediately.
And how many hours is that? I mean, is that just, she's just working with the Board of Review, so it's only?
Yeah, that's only in June
Right,
for,
okay. I did that, fine,
3 or 4 days, something like that.
Yeah.
okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, which brings us to our consensus agenda. Items 1 through 12.
Nothing was added, right?
You want me to read those?
No. You read them last week.
Okay. So, if anybody has any questions on individual items,
No,
we've basically gone through them.
it's only when they appear.
Yeah, when they just appear.
Last time there's 2 no items on the consensus agenda.
What are they?
No, I'm saying, no, not, it's not, it's not.
All right.
Who's on first?
So I'll make a motion to approve the consensus agenda, items 1 through 12.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
All right, let me find out the messages.
I think that's only the first.
Our next regularly scheduled
6.
meeting will be December 6th. However, on November 29th, we're going to have a special town board meeting. This is a meeting that we will have our Somers Academy back into to present us getting into specifics about the seeker requirements that they have to meet. And we have invited our planning board, our architectural review board, and our open space committee.
What time is that at?
Well, it's actually, we're gonna probably get going about 7:15.
7:15, all right.
In the morning?
No,
Yeah.
that'll be at night.
Yes, 7:15.
How many boards here will be here till 7:15 the next morning?
So, and that'll be a special meeting. Okay. So we may have had a lull in town board announcements.
No, we did
But-
pretty good last week.
Just before we move on.
Yes.
And Patty, one resolution at the beginning of that November 29th meeting will be to confirm lead agency
No, no.
Right,
status. And Saret can probably give you that resolution.
perfect. That's-
So this is the 29th at
Thank you.
7:15.
And we'll do that first before we get into the presentation.
What is this?
Okay. So, yeah, let's,
Here's everyone's favorite part of the meeting, including the viewers.
Want me to
all right,
start?
sure. These are,
So, repeating for, I guess we've talked about this one a couple of times, the Town of Somers bulk refuse drop-off for Somers residents only. It started back on October 20th. It runs through Saturday, November 17th. Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, Saturday, 7 to 12. I would not suggest you go on a Saturday because it's very crowded over there. Location is the Somers Sanitation Transfer Station on Route 100, across from the Highway Department. It's for household items, mattresses, furniture, carpeting, bicycle, other non-commercial construction equipment. If you have a propane tank you're looking to get rid of,
Thank you.
God bless you, no larger than 20 pounds, $10 each. Refrigerators and air conditioners are 35 each with Freon and $10 without. No toxic materials or commercial construction. And the price varies, $25 per car, $30 per minivan, SUV or station wagon, $45 per pickup truck or small van, and $86, which is an arbitrary number, but $86 per ton for truck larger than a pickup. ID needed, showing you're a Somers residence. And then, even more important, this Sunday, the Veterans Day Parade celebrated by Somers. It's the 100th anniversary, Sunday, November 11, 2018. The parade starts at 10:30, ceremony at 11, refreshments to follow at the Townhouse. The parade starts here in Bailey Park. It's the shorter one, goes up to Veterans Memorial, honoring all who served WW 1 and 2.
Yeah, all veterans.
Well, this is WW, all veterans. All veterans,
It
yeah.
was the 100th anniversary.
Oh, 100 now, okay, I got you. Hosted by Somers Lions for our local heroes.
Thank you. Okay, Tony?
Okay, so Christmas is upon us. Operation Christmas Child. This is going to be declare his glory among the nations, send a gift-filled shoebox to the end of the earth. Essentially, the shoeboxes will be collected from Monday, November 12th through Monday, November 19th at the Affirmation Presbyterian Church, 1 Primrose Junction between Route 100 and 139 in Somers. So, the drop-off hours will be available at, and they're giving you a phone number here, not a time, 914-232-0546. So that looks like a worthy cause.
Yeah, just a word. I learned about this program last year.
Yeah.
And basically, whatever you can cram into a shoebox, school supplies, little toys, pencils, anything that a child would enjoy that would fit in a box. And what they do, they ship them all over the world. And for kids that have never even gotten presents, will get these shoe boxes. So it's a very worthy cause.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, this will all be on the website, I guess.
Yep.
Correct? Okay. All right, so Somers Education Foundation's Autumn Wine Tasting, Wednesday, November 14th, from 7 p.m. To 10 p.m. It's going to be hosted by Unwind in the Somers Commons Shopping Center on Route 6. Everybody, this is a great event to a worthy cause. Most of all this money goes to Somers High School and, the Somers Central School District. School District. And, they've given over $1 million in grants over the years. So this is how they get this done. So again, it will be November 14th, 2018, between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. And they're asking for a minimum donation of $60 a person. And I guess, where do we sign up for this?
Website, I think.
Is there the website?
Yeah.
Well, this talks about tearing off a tariff portion, so,
I think it's 65.
yeah.
At the door.
65, so you can do 65 at the door, but obviously, they would love to have you guys, everybody know beforehand. I'm going to be attending.
As will I.
Okay.
Richard?
All right. First, just thanks to the Somers Litter Task Force, which manned the entrance to the electronics recycling day last Saturday. And they were there manning it, taking donations. Those go turned back into the efforts to keep Somers clean. That group started out, there wasn't even a group. It was 2 people picking up stuff. And it's grown over the years to a real organization.
Not for profit.
Susie Morvick was there, and Rich Nash was there, and several other people, I'm sure. And they've done a great job promoting it and encouraging people and getting stuff out. So that was last Saturday. But coming up in 2 Saturdays, on November the 17th, is not a recycling day, but it's a holiday bazaar at St. Luke's Church. One-of-a-kind heirloom Santas, vintage German hand-blown ornaments, hand-knit baby blankets and sweaters, homemade baked gifts and treats, raffle prizes, multiple wine baskets, 3-month membership of Salem Golf Club, 32-inch TV, all sorts of things that you can find there. And that's at St. Luke's Church, right here on Route 100 in Somers. That's Saturday, November 17th, from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Nice day.
Thanks. And as Councilman Sirico said, the Christmas season is upon us, and one of the bellwethers for that, of course, is Holiday Happiness. This year again at Primrose, sponsored by the Primrose PTA. That'll be Saturday, December 1st from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come out and support yet another great, worthy cause. Additionally, this Saturday at Middletown Middle School in Middletown, New York, the boys soccer team is playing in the semifinals for soccer at 12:30 p.m. So please come out and support the team. When they win that game on Saturday, they'll immediately be playing on Sunday at 10 a.m. at Middletown High School. So efforts are already in place for a big welcome home
Is the
state
first game in
championship.
Middletown?
The first one is in Middletown, but at Middletown Middle School.
I thought that was at a different location. but okay.
That's what I have, and the second one is at Middletown High School.
And that's the state championship.
And that's the state
That is the
championship.
state championship for all of New York.
Wow.
All right, well, we wish,
Go Tuskers.
yeah, we wish them the best. Bring another title, back to Titletown.
That's right, when you were titled that.
Okay, so, I have a few things here. The Town of Somers holiday celebration will be held December 2nd here at the Elephant Hotel. 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., the town's Christmas tree tradition, photos with Santa, and in front of the tree with our 6-foot ruler. You can measure how your kids have grown over the year as compared to our tree that's growing out there. 3 p.m. we'll have the dedication of the nativity scene. 5 p.m. the Christmas tree lighting. And then at 6, we're going to have menorah lighting for Hanukkah. So we're going to have a very busy day, but come out and enjoy the town and the townhouse.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
By all means.
Just check with the school for the soccer game, because the information I have is that it's going to be the semifinals on Saturday at 12:30 at Mount St. Mary College in Newburgh, and the championship game will be played Sunday at Middletown High School at 8:30 a.m. That's off the Somer Central School District page, but just verify, because maybe something changed. This was about 6 or 7 hours ago, but I don't want you to go to the wrong school.
Yeah, well, there's something being posted on the billboard outside. It
Yeah,
said
maybe that'll say it. But just-
Middletown, it had on it.
That's the championship, but this, okay, so maybe it changed, but just check everybody first.
Yep. But do support the Tuskers at any rate. All right, also on December 2nd, the Somers Historical Society will have an open house. So the townhouse, first and second floors will be open from 2:30 to 4:30. There's trains, toys, treasures, and trees of holiday exhibit. 3:30 to 4:30 will be book signing with Joe Pitkin, Cradle of the American Circus. She'll be here, and Poems from Somers. Once again, this is a not to miss celebration for the town. And then finally wrapping up, our Somers Historical Society Holidays at the Wright Reese Homestead and Gingerbread Festival 2018 will be Saturday, December 8th, Sunday, December 9th, from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Wright Reese Homestead, which is in the intersection of Primrose and Sutherland Lane. Gingerbread House entries due Saturday, December 8th, from 10 to 11. And the theme is An Elephant Home for the Holidays. So information for that is, you can go to the website, Somers Historical, SOC, at yahoo.com. So a lot going on coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Get out there and enjoy your town. Any
Yeah,
closing?
just
Yes,
let's
yeah.
not forget Thanksgiving.
I was just gonna say that. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we
went
skipped
to
right
Dec-
over
we went
that,
right to
didn't we?
December.
Wow.
So we're wishing everybody a great Thanksgiving, and make it safe.
Yeah, we have a lot to be thankful for in our town, and I'm thankful for the people that I work with here on this board.
Thank you.
Here, here.
And we had
Thank you.
election day last week, so, or earlier this week. So all those candidates who were successful, congratulations. Those who were not, but you got to thank people when they run. If nobody runs, there's no
Win or lose,
democracy.
we thank
So
them
you got
all.
people who do that.
Okay.
Senator Murphy, thank you for your service.
Yes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Good night, Somers.
There you go.